You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Today is our Friday review, and I'm excited to bring you today's episode. And I've honestly been waiting, I would say 2 to 3 weeks to bring this specific show to you. I get at least 1 to 2 questions per week asking me, what is the best water filtration system I can use for my home or for my office? And, this is something that I've talked about in the past, but I want to do a more in-depth show, and that's because there's probably nothing more important than the water you drink, right? And the reason is this. It's because right now, if you are drinking tap water or you're going out and you're getting a tea or a coffee, you're getting tap water that way as well. Tap water is one of the most poisonous substances we can put in our body. In typical tap water, I'm going to just let you know what you don't even know you are consuming, and it's that bad. Right now, out of your faucet, every single city that was tested, there are pharmaceutical drugs in your water. And here's why. A lot of people think that their water is coming from a reservoir, from this beautiful spring, and then it's flowing through these pipes, and you turn on your faucet, and that comes this beautiful, pristine water, and that's just not the case. A lot of it is actually from sewage filtration plants where they're filtering the water, cleaning the water. It's then going through PVC plastic pipes, not even copper pipes anymore, and you turn on your water, and what's left are still some pharmaceutical drugs. Or even if it is coming from a reservoir, a lake, whatever it might be, what happens is this. There is runoff that can go into these lakes as well. When humans ingest pharmaceutical drugs like they found Prozac in a lot of the water, is 2 things. One is a lot of these chemicals are coming through your urine or feces into the toilet water, which is then brought into these filtration plants or runoff. The second is that people often flush their medications thinking nothing of it. And when they flush their medications, it then goes into your drinking water. But it also gets worse. There are these things called VOCs, volatile organic chemicals, and they are pesticides, herbicides, and other chemicals. Remember, everything that we spray into nature goes into the soil, which can then run off into our water, and it does. So when we're looking at these big farmlands and these big, crops, and we're just coming over the top with these small planes and just spraying everything in sight with pesticides, we think it only affects the food. No, it also affects our drinking water. And this is really disturbing because this has been proven to hurt our liver, hurt our kidneys in terms of detoxification, hurt reproductive function, and also lead to cancer. Not good. Other things that are in our pipes, but also in our water, is heavy metal. One big one is lead, another one is mercury, and now aluminum as well. Why would that be? Well, these things are in our environment, and again, they can get into our water. They can also come from factories, pollutants. They can go up into the sky, and when it rains, they're coming back down from that rain right into, again, our lakes, our reservoirs, and all those things. A big thing for me also that we're not talking about enough is just there's plastic everywhere. And when people talk about, plastic water bottles, that's a huge issue, right? Because of pollution, because of plastic in the environment. It's great that we can recycle a lot of them now, no doubt about it. That's much, much better. And they're making smaller caps and all those different types of things as well. But what we're finding is even from the pipes as well, sometimes these endocrine disrupting chemicals, which basically they actually mimic and they produce more estrogen in the body. And estrogen is the one that causes more of these issues in terms of cancer and all sorts of different neurological effects as well. And this goes for reproductive effects too, like PCBs from plastic, bisphenol A. All these things are, again, these are chemicals that we don't think about because we can't see them that are literally poisoning our body. 2 more. One is that chlorine is used to clean and purify water, so it kills bacteria. that's pretty important. There's no doubt about it. When I tell the story all the time, when I went to India, I took chlorine tablets with me. Now, I know chlorine's not good for my body. I absolutely know that. But I also know that me getting a parasite or some type of even worse bacteria from the water not being clean or purified, and my body certainly not being used to it, would have been even worse. So what I did was I took the water, which was already supposedly cleaned, and then I put chlorine tablets in it, and then I left it in pitchers, and I uncapped the pitchers, and I allowed then the chlorine to dissipate out as much as it could. So just in general, chlorine will also wipe out a lot of the good bacteria in your gut. So if you're drinking it, you're basically taking like an antibiotic or an anti-probiotic, and you're killing a lot of the good bacteria. Not a very good thing to do. It can hurt your skin, everything. It's not a good product for us to be using. But again, it kills worse things in the water, but that doesn't mean you should be drinking it, right? It just means that they should use other forms of killing this bacteria, such as ozone or something like that instead. Okay, and the last one that we should be worried about is fluoride. So fluoride is a poison. I think we get confused that, well, there's been studies, and I'm using studies in quotation marks here, air quotes, that fluoride can help strengthen our teeth, right? It could be good for our teeth and preventing cavities. I would say if you have a good, clean diet, what did people do for millennia before the invention of fluoride? They were perfectly fine, but they ate normal whole foods, and they also chewed on like neem leaves and things like that. It's a different story. I'm not going to go down that road. But fluoride, you can make the argument if you'd like that fluoride is great for your teeth. And you can make that argument. So if you want to swish it around your mouth and spit it out, fine. Absolutely. I understand that. That's okay. But when you put fluoride in water, you're not swishing it around your mouth. You're actually drinking it down into your body. And fluoride is a known poison. And when you have too many parts per billion, it will actually kill you. It's not a good idea. Not a good idea for our toothpaste. Not a good idea for our drinking water, especially for our drinking water. And certainly not a good idea to give little kids who weigh 20 and 30 pounds. I mean, again, this is criminal that we are doing this in this country. And I know why they're not saying to go against it now, because the lawsuits would be irreparable to the dental industry. Same with mercury amalgams or silver amalgams. They're not doing them as much, but they also can't say it was bad for you because of all the mercury that potentially could leak out because of the lawsuits. But let's look at this. Fluoride has been shown to lower thyroid function, and they used it in Europe for Graves' disease and cases of high thyroid, and we know it lowers thyroid. So look at all the people in this country with low thyroid, with weight-based issues, with metabolism-based issues, and with things like Hashimoto's. Do you think fluoride would be good for them? Absolutely not. Really, really bad. So let's get into it now, because I told you all the different contaminants in your water, and those are in tap water. Now, some of them are in bottled water, and I do have to mention this because most bottled water does not come from a spring. It is literally filtered, or not even like in the case of Dasani or a lot of these Nestle-based brands. Remember, these are big corporations. They literally pour tap water into a bottle, cap it, and sell it to you for $1 or $1.50. That, to me, is also criminal. I don't know how we let people get away with these things, but apparently when, big business owns the government, then there's no regulation on this. But you shouldn't be able to sell tap water back to people for $1.50. Or you should just have to say on this bottle, this is not filtered water, or this is not spring water, this is actually just tap water. Okay, so let's get into what some good filtration options are. Now, if you're looking at what are the things, let's go down the line, kind of like the most expensive. The most expensive are like the 7-step to 14-step under the sink filtration processes. And so one of those big filtration processes would be a company like Radiant Life. Like they have a 14-stage water purification system. So basically it's like these 3 different containers that sits under your sink, and then they have another big, it's like, I think it's around 2 to 4 gallons. They have larger ones for your whole house as well. But they're around $1,000 to $2,000 per unit. And although they are fantastic, and they eliminate the most amount of contaminants because it goes through all these different stages, and it does reduce arsenic from your water, asbestos, heavy metals, and it removes fluoride. It doesn't remove a lot of the smaller base particles still. So that's an issue, because one of the only ways to do that is when you are evaporating water with a lot of these different methods, what happens is you actually evaporate the pesticides at the same time you're evaporating the water. So that, of course, does not really work, right? You need actual water to be able to drink these specific things. So it does remove, though, the widest amount of contaminants, which is absolutely the best to do. And they also make whole house filters. So that means as the water enters your house, you can just filter everything. Your shower, it filters your bath water, it filters your drinking water, anything you use for cooking. So that's a great one. That's called Radiant Life. There's a few like that as well. It's not the only one, but it is a very, very good one. So we're going best to least right now, and then I'll just kind of do a quick recap at the end. So the second one, I think this is a lot more approachable for more people. And I'm going to link up every single one of these in the show notes. Don't worry about it. Literally, all you have to do is go to today's show page, just like any page, and just go to stephencabral.com/286. That's it. And I'll give you all the different links so that you can kind of compare for yourself. So the next one is a gravity-based one. These are gaining popularity. Almost no one knows about them. You probably never heard about this type before. It's gravity-based. It's called a solid block carbon filter. Besides getting like a whole house filtration system, this one is fantastic. It's the one I am most likely about to buy after doing all of this great research, and I'll tell you why. This one, it filters out all of those volatile organic compounds or those chemicals, heavy metals, chlorine, fluoride, bacteria, nitrates, parasites, chemicals. It's absolutely fantastic. The only issue is that it will sit on top of your counter. As long as you don't mind having like a 2-gallon container, I do that now. It's probably the best and absolute best brand to get. It's not going to remove absolutely everything, but it does the best job that I've seen for about $200 to $300. Like that's the range this is at, and it's a great option if you don't want to spend like the $1,000+. So that's an absolutely fantastic one. It comes in stainless steel. Again, it gets away from the plastic. One of the great brands out there right now is called Berkeley. That is definitely one of the top brands. I'm not going to give you a bunch of brands because why? They're all within like $50, and so the big Berkeley is the best one right now that I've seen. Fantastic reviews and independent testing, which means we're not going to just take any company's word for it because they're obviously the manufacturer. People have done by third-party professional companies their own testing showing how it lowers all of these different compounds in tap water that you obviously don't want to be there. All right, next up, these are basically a tie, distilled water and reverse osmosis. And the reason is this, that reverse osmosis, the process is a little bit different. They both use lots and lots of water. That's kind of the issue with reverse osmosis and distilled water, is you're using at least twice the amount of water that through evaporation that you're actually going to get in terms of drinking water. So reverse osmosis is going to remove all of the large contaminants. You can even put them under the sink now, so they don't have to be large ones. We have this at our wellness center, and we have it at our studio because we have closet space where we can have massive ones. Like we have huge tanks. I believe it's like 3 5-gallon tanks or 9-gallon tanks. And so when people fill up their water, it literally removes everything except a few of those much smaller endocrine disruptors. What does that mean? Well, it means pesticides and herbicides. So any of this runoff that goes into your water, that's what I mentioned before. Hard to remove, really hard to remove. And the reason is this: when you evaporate the water, that's when you truly get rid of then these pesticides because they're so small in particle size. But they get rid of the fluoride, they get rid of the chlorine, they get rid of the heavy metals, which is really, really nice. And again, both of these do pretty much exactly the same thing. Distilled water, reverse osmosis. What do you want to do if you get distilled water or reverse osmosis? If that's your main drinking water, what you'd like to do and should do is get a product called just trace minerals. It's trace mineral drops, and you add the drops just right back to the water. Basically, just stir up a big pitcher of this water that you make, and you just stir it in the drops, the trace minerals, and then you have your minerals added back to your water because you don't want your body pulling minerals from your own body when you drink the reverse osmosis in order to be able to filter it. Okay, bottled water I touched on a little bit. Bottled water is cleaner than tap water, no doubt about it, if you're getting spring water. That's a big thing, right? So there's kind of controversy with Poland Springs. That was kind of one of the big manufacturers. They produce water in the Northeast. Maine, where I'm at, I go to all the time, and I love Maine. And Poland Springs is still spring water. The controversy is that they're owned by Nestle now. So kind of behind the scenes, who knows what they're doing, right? But they don't just get it from Poland Springs anymore in Maine. They get it, I think, from around a dozen different springs now, maybe between 9 and 12 different springs in Maine. It still supposedly comes from spring water, which is a good choice if it is actually pure spring water. And one of the ones that I've recommended in the past too is Saka. The only issue with Saka water, it's absolutely fantastic. It is a pure water. It passes a lot of these different tests that people do run on water. It tastes great. It's higher alkaline. Poland Springs is about a 7, so it's neutral. What does it mean, Saka water being alkaline? Well, it means it just has more minerals. Like, we're not, there's nothing woo-woo about that. There's more minerals in it. It's a great tasting water. It's fantastic for your body, but it is shipped in plastic water bottles. And the issue with that is the potential, if it's heated, for the PCBs and different dioxins and plastics to actually get into that water. And those are hormone-based disruptors, so that's an issue. So it's kind of like you're picking your poison, right? There's just so many different things you have to look for. I also wanted to give you one more. Now, because a lot of people asked about this, is a Brita filter good? Well, a Brita filter really isn't that great. And that's because they've tested over and over. It doesn't remove that much from your water. It really doesn't. And the other issue is this. It has been shown to put about 14% aluminum or so back into your water, which means it can actually add in some heavy metals back to your water. Not great, and that's because the filter most likely is aluminum itself. But there is a good pitcher, if people like those pitchers, and it's called a Zero pitcher. The Zero pitcher is easily the best one that I've researched them all. It's easily the best one out there. I'm going to link that up in the show notes. If you want a simple thing that you can pour water into on your counter, keep a gallon or two right there for use, my recommendation is Zero pitcher over the Brita. Again, I'm not a spokesman for any of these companies. I take my suggestions to you very seriously, and I want to just simply give you the best. So that's how I'm looking at it. That is basically from absolute best down to least good. And of course, you just don't want to be drinking tap water at all. It's just too dangerous out there. So I want to give you kind of a summary right here, right? So if the Zero pitcher there is somewhere around $40 to $50, that might be a good buy for a lot of people. Those reverse osmosis ones can be anywhere. Well, they can go anywhere really from, let's say, $400 up to $1,000 or so. You can lease some if you're kind of doing it on a monthly subscription for your whole house. And then the big Radiant one, like that big one that does the 14-step process, that's around $1,500. So what I feel is this. I think the Berkeley countertop one, the stainless steel one that removes most of all the fluoride in your tap water, and it does remove all of the larger particles without a doubt, and it's been tested. It has a lifespan of 3,000 gallons for $250 to $288. I think that's your best long-term bet. I really do. And the only reason I haven't put one of the reverse osmosis under my sink is simply because of this. It's a big investment, and if you do plan on ever moving within the next year or two, which I most likely will be with my family, it might not be the best investment. So I really think that in the short term, the Berkeley filter, the one that sits on top of your counter, that's stainless steel, so don't worry about the plastics, is the way to go. And I'm going to link that up in the show notes as well. So if you want my quick recommendation, that's it. But you can go with anything from the Zero pitcher to this Berkeley countertop to then the reverse osmosis and the distilled, which again, not too many people are going to do distilled. It's more like the reverse osmosis. And then to the 14 stage. And of course, if you're buying bottled water, just go for the pure spring water. Don't go for one of the filtered waters, which again is tap water. They're not doing a great job of it. And you're just trying to use less and less plastic, as much as we can do for the environment. So hopefully today's review helped. Again, if there's any questions on this, certainly let me know. I purposely did not review a lot of the so-called, again, air quote, alkaline-based water systems, because I'm talking about overall pure water for everyday health. And when you start talking about these alkaline-based filters, you're manipulating water in a way that may or may not be good for you. It's almost like a supplement. So I don't want to talk about that today. This is everyone's recommendation, and so important too if you have children in your house. Children are at so much more risk because they're smaller human beings without the ability to filter out all of these toxins, and the toxins get into their body just as much as in yours, but they simply can't do as good a job. So use this for your coffee, use it for your tea, use it for your smoothies, use it for all of your cooking needs, and of course, if you can, a glass water bottle around with you during the day, and you can put your filtered water right in this. So thank you everyone once again for tuning into the Cabral Concept, and hopefully today's show helped. Please do feel free to pass it on to anyone it could help.
Ever wonder what the best sauna, blue blockers, sleep trackers, wake lights, salt lamps, or other health gadgets are? Or what about the top non-toxic mattresses, sheets, soaps, bath products, toothpaste, and cookware? Or would you like to know the cleanest choices for hemp parts, meal delivery services, supplements, and much more? I personally curated, researched, and now created a resource page of all of my top picks that continues to grow each week. These are the exact products I use in my own life, with my family, in my private practice, and they're the ones I trust. To find out all of my up-to-date recommendations and all the details, simply head on over to stephencabral.com/resources.